If you own the Osmo Pocket 3 and you haven't tried the time-lapse mode yet, you really gotta try it. Having a simple time-lapse in the story you're creating can really help show the passage of time, and a time-lapse can show that passage of time in a quick but engaging way. Now, a while back in a video, I did show you how to get really good results with the time-lapse mode in this camera, but that was more of a manual editing mode where you would need to take all of the individual photos, import them into a photo editor, make your edits, export them, then make a time lapse. But today's video is all about showing you how to get an easy time lapse that also looks good. With the method and steps I'm showing you today, you will get a single .mp4 video time lapse straight from your Pocket 3, and you'll be able to plug that right into your project with minimal to no editing. Now sure, you might want to edit it to speed it up a little bit, or maybe add a little bit of saturation, but that's gonna be something you're already doing anyway when you're video editing. So instead of doing a process that'll take hours and hours, this process will only take as long as you need the camera out here to get the time lapse. And there are some tools that I recommend having in order to get those good time lapses. One of them is a tripod, but if you're like me and you have the Creator Combo, you've got this little tripod right here that comes with it. I often like to set it like this on the ground, and that's because I really like that perspective. Instead of the camera being like 5 or 6 feet off the ground on a tripod, when it sits on the ground, it gives you that flexibility to get some of the ground in your frame, and it can really help set the creative perspective, especially if you want to look up at an angle at something. It's a really good perspective. But if you don't have the Creator Combo and you just want to use a tripod, just a basic tripod like this one from Amazon, I got this for $20. All you have to do is just mount this on here. This has the 1/4-20 thread mount, so you can put it on any tripod mounting plate. The only other thing I recommend is if you're going to do a time lapse that has your Osmo Pocket 3 sitting out there for more than a couple hours, I highly recommend getting a power bank. Now, I personally prefer a power bank from Anker, which I'll link in the description below. It's very cost effective and I use it with lots of my cameras. All right, so all we gotta do here is pop the camera on and then click here in the lower left, make sure you're in time-lapse mode. I am. We're gonna swipe up from the bottom, and you wanna make sure you're in time-lapse in the middle here, and then you wanna do custom. And then up here in the upper right, make sure you're in 4K 25 or 4K 30. If you're in the United States like I am, I recommend 4K 30. And then we're gonna swipe up again. And at the top here, we simply want to set our interval. And this really is just going to be dependent on what type of interval you want. So in my case, if I'm doing a couple hours time lapse, like this one, that's the example at sunset, I like to do 3 seconds to 5 seconds. If I'm doing a shorter time lapse, or I'm maybe only gonna have the camera sitting out for an hour, then I recommend doing the 2-second interval. But if it's going to be like an all-day time lapse, then you may want to go up to 10 seconds or even more. And one other consideration to make, this time lapse, like the one I did here, I did have it fade to darkness, and I got some of that darkness at the end. So if you want to do any holy grail type of time lapse, that's going to be a time lapse where it goes from darkness to light or light to darkness, then you might want to consider setting a speed anywhere from 5 seconds to 8 seconds. Now, the shutter speed officially on here, when you manually adjust it, it only goes to about 2 seconds on here. But when you have this in auto mode for the shutter speed, the Pocket 3 does boost that shutter speed to a slower level than that. And you can actually get some pretty good results at nighttime. I'm gonna have more on that in a future video, but just a heads up on that. Once we've set our interval, I recommend just keeping this at infinity down here. If you wanna see quick math of what the end result will look like if you left the Pocket 3 out for an hour with a 5-second interval, you're gonna get a 24-second time lapse. And if you leave it out for 5 hours, you're gonna get a 2-minute time lapse at 5 seconds. But I like to set this to infinity because sometimes I've set it to a duration like that, and then I've had something really cool happen, but I didn't get it because my camera stopped recording. And after you've set the interval, you're gonna swipe back down, and then you're going to swipe over from the right. And for exposure, you're going to keep this set to auto with one change. Over here where it's ISO, instead of keeping the range at full auto, where it would go all the way up to 6400 for the ISO, you're gonna wanna set this to 50 to 1600. When you do 50 to 1600, it makes sure the ISO doesn't get too high, it doesn't create too much noise or grain. You're gonna hit confirm. We're gonna leave everything else auto here. So the shutter speed's gonna be auto, the EV comp is gonna be auto, everything. Click confirm. White balance, we're also going to leave this at auto. And by the way, if you don't see these settings, make sure you have Pro selected up here. If you don't select Pro, it's going to be entirely grayed out, but that's how you get those settings to show. And then for the format, if you just want the video and you don't want the photos at all, just select video there. But if there's a chance you may want to edit those photos later on, you do want to select video plus raw. You could select video plus JPEG, but the JPEGs are going to be low resolution and they're not going to be as versatile if you want to edit photos. So really you want the raw, unless you're absolutely certain you don't want to edit any photos later on. But the point of today's video is to show you how to get a good video time lapse. So for the format, I'm going to select video. And then for the focus mode, you want to put single because you don't want it to be hunting for focus while you're doing a time lapse for the video. You want it to have that focus locked in. So those are all the settings you need to adjust. And at this point, all you want to do is you want to toggle this and you want to get your framing set. I'm going to do a framing about like this right here. Gives a really good perspective of that next thunderstorm rolling in, which by the way, I got out here just in time in between heavy rain and the next storm. And then all we're gonna do here, once we have it framed, we're gonna hit record and it's gonna do a little countdown and it's gonna start recording. And the nice thing about this gimbal is even when it's windy, unless it's really windy, I have not ever had this gimbal jump on me during a time lapse. DJI did a really good job with balancing the strength of this gimbal for a time lapse. So that is really great. And then here, the screen's going to go dark to save battery. So when I filmed this time lapse for this video, I didn't have it connected to any power bank. It did that entire time lapse, which was about 3 or 4 hours, and I still had some battery left. And that is because I have the Creator Combo, which does have this extra battery down here, but just worth noting. And then when you are done, all you do, hit the record button again, and it's going to finish up, and you're going to have your MP4 video file right there. Of course, this is a short one right now. This is the one I showed you in the video that I filmed the other day. And this one was a whole 2 minutes and 23 seconds. And if you're a Pocket 3 owner and you'd like to learn more about how to get the very best results with this camera, check out this playlist right here.